All right, welcome back to Just Another Solar Podcast with Luke Beattie. That's me, Karl Jensen. G'day, Karl.
That's me, mate, from sunny Melbourne. We have had 2 sunny days so far this year. It's been great.
And Nigel Morris. G'day, Nige.
G'day, Luke. G'day, Karl. Why does Karl always seem to be in some really dingy, suspicious-looking car park on the side of a road in his car? This is a new thing.
'Tis the season to be jolly, Nigel. So there was talk in the business whether we should get hampers, and I said, bugger the hampers. I will be going to visit. It's visiting season. Yeah, I don't know what people see in hampers. Doesn't make any sense to me, but people definitely like being taken out for a lunch.
Lovely. So you're out visiting all the time. Good on you, mate.
Certainly the season for that. And the season for the COP28 as well. One of the funniest things I saw from that is that, number one, the COP28 president works in oil and gas. And the second thing is he said that phasing out oil and gas would bring us back into the caves. So there seems to be a bit of a bias anyway away from it. But there was some big news from the CEC.
Yeah, they were talking about COP28 in their newsletter today, actually, and referenced the AEMO statement of latest statement of opportunity and the plans that are coming out off the back of that. And they're very bullish about it. And interestingly, they've done some numbers and said, what do we need? And the answer is, well, we need 72 gigawatts of rooftop solar and 126 gigawatts of large-scale solar by 2050. And I went, we're talking offline about how big that is. Well, I kind of did some rough numbers and went, how big is that? What does that mean? And it turns out that means 1.33 billion solar panels, roughly, to meet that 72 plus 198 total of gigawatts of solar. For what it's worth, if you ground mounted them all, I kind of went, before the skeptics come at us and go, oh, that's ridiculous, we don't even have enough land. Well, it's only 200 Ks by 200 Ks. That's all you'd need to fit those 1.3 billion panels. And of course, as time goes by, those panels are going to get smaller and more efficient. There's better ways to do it. So
indeed, Thomas tells us that Thomas from Jinko told us that your typical 440 will be a 500 watt panel in 2 years, which is just still blows my mind.
That's right. So by the time we hit this target in 2050, who knows what will be. There'll probably be
1.1 billion panels instead.
That's right. So and a whole lot of people who are listening in, you should all be billionaires by 2050 when we've got those 1.3 billion panels in. Better get a new truck.
Yeah, so we were talking last week about the big battery in Melton, and I did a bit of head scratching there. That one I didn't really pay enough attention. $245 million that they chipped in. That could have actually been $245 million split, say, 50,000 ways to the tune of $5,000 a pop to put batteries behind the meter instead. And you would have ended up with the same amount of storage and it would have been just as handy. Or we could have put that towards EV subsidies at $5,000 a pop and put 2.4 gigawatt hours of storage on the grid. And I read this week that in Queensland, that's exactly what they're doing. And they're getting about a $6,500 handout in Queensland to buy an EV.
Up to $4,000 for home batteries as well, announced this week.
Really?
That's right. Yeah, that's kicking off in the new year.
Yeah, better idea. Why did we do that in Victoria? I mean, of all things, Queenslanders to get it right. Would you believe it?
Yeah, so it's $4,000. I think the threshold is under $67,000 as a household income, and then you get $3,000 up to $180,000 of household income. Now, I was part of the Smart Energy Council's roundtable with Mick de Brenny, the Queensland Energy Minister, a few weeks ago, and we were discussing this because he said they're coming up with a scheme. The first thing we said is, please don't announce it until it's fully cooked and ready to go, because it will kill battery sales. But the other thing that we discussed was having a scheme where it's tied to the size of the batteries or the performance. So something similar to heat pumps, Karl, which that the performance of the heat pump determines a rebate. So rather than having just a flat rebate where you might have people installing 5 kilowatt hour batteries or smaller, if you tie it to the size of the battery, then I think that's a better way to do it rather than based on income. But obviously, a rebate or the Queensland government doing something more is a great story any which way. And it supports what you're saying, Karl, which is behind the meter, or as everyone's calling it now, consumer energy, which is a good thing.
I think
it's
Nigel called them negawatts.
Negawatts. I love negawatts. Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. And I mean, I'm with you. I hope that announcement hasn't come too soon. I was chatting with a couple of Queensland guys the other day because it's been a fair bit going on in Queensland, and they're still trying to choose. What was it, a scheme auditor or something or other? So, they've still got some work to do, and we don't know the exact date that it's going to roll out. But clearly the cat's out of the bag now, so let's hope they get it out really quick.
Well, Luke just told everyone.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure it got mentioned at Smart Energy Queensland a few months ago. So any which way, small disruption, but it's a good thing for the industry. And congrats to the Queensland government for doing something more.
Absolutely.
It's a pity for the team at Keen to be Green that I read this week that they've gone into liquidation. Yeah, we've had lots of good times with that crew over the last 10 years.
Yeah, they've been around for like 12 or 13 years, right? They were a long-standing solar company. I think it'd be really interesting to understand what happened there.
Yeah, I first met Dan Shelfer at a Energy Matters customer get-together thing in Byron Bay, and that was 12 years ago. So they've definitely been around 12 years. And you wouldn't have thought that anything has gotten particularly more difficult. Would have potentially have even got easier since then, but you never know. Don't know what went wrong there.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. It is a real shame when companies have been around that long fall over, and hopefully all the staff will get picked up and everyone will recover, and hopefully we'll learn everyone in the industry might learn some lessons out of that, because something's clearly gone wrong after all that time.
Well, we've still got 1.1 billion panels to install, Nigel.
That's 1.3. That's right.
1.3.
Well, you make an interesting point. I mean, apparently November was the largest month for small scale on record for STC creation.
Yes.
But when you chat around the grounds, you're not hearing of a booming industry from, the big operators, mid and down to the man in the van. Everyone's complaining about the small margins, how hard it is, how close everyone is to that razor edge. In other mature industries, if you're having record months, everyone's having a win. So maybe 2024 is going to be a year where it can improve in that area.
Well, that's a terrific segue into the conversations you and I have had, Luke, because these are exactly some of the questions we're asking our guests, right?
That's right. Nigel and I have gone through and done mini interviews with a half a dozen of the leaders in the industry from different segments, so from retailers through to installers, analysts, certificate traders. And it's going to be really interesting because we haven't all heard all of these interviews yet. I think it's a really good way to wrap up the year, because the announcement is we're going to have a rest for the next episode, which means we'll be back in the new year in 4 weeks' time. So a perfect way to wrap up is to get some of the best people in the industry to give their feedback on what's happened this year and also what's happening next year.
Let's listen. Well, welcome, and thanks for joining us, Dean Williamson from Goodwe. How are you, mate?
Good, Nigel. How about yourself?
Yeah, just fine, mate. Just fine. The end of the year is almost upon us. Mate, you've had an epic year in Goodwe, and personally, you've been everywhere and, doing all sorts of amazing things. So we thought we'd check in with you as our manufacturer representative on how your year went. So let's dive straight in. Tell me, what was your biggest achievement in 2023?
That's a good question, Nigel. I think for us this year, it was probably more about engaging at a community level. One thing we really wanted to do at the start of the year was get more involved in the community, whether that's right down to the local level. One thing we did this year was we developed a schools program. So we saw that there was potentially a gap in the education market, specifically around sustainability and climate change and awareness with these students. So the marketing team and myself, we put a program together that was really designed to educate these kids more about climate change, because we know that they're spending a lot of time learning about maths and English, but we believe this is, as important as anything out there. So it was really designed for grades anywhere between grade 2 and grade 6. And we took our Goodwe Roadshow truck around to a number of schools throughout Australia, and we developed a few different modules for these kids. One of them was, what is climate change? The second module was what can they do to make the world and the environment a better place? And then the third one was a little bit more biased around what we do, but was what is solar and how does solar work? And look, the buy-in we had from the kids and the teachers was fantastic. And at the end, we ran a competition, which was we wanted the kids to really use their imagination and their creativity and come up with an idea that raises awareness for climate change. And that could have been anything from an invention to a poem or sing a song or build a 3D model.
Wow.
And some of the things that the kids came up with were really amazing. And then we ran an awards day at the Melbourne Home Show, just awarding some of those kids for some of their ideas, which was fantastic.
I saw that online, mate, and I have to commend you. It's great to see you guys. I mean, not only did you do cool stuff like that, which was really, reaching into the community, like you said, but of course you guys were everywhere. You set records for market share. So, nice job, mate. Nice job. Good 2023 by the looks of it.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And I guess, and the other part of it was just aligning with like-minded companies like yourselves, Solar Analytics, or whether that was, A-Wise, we wanted to get more involved in these great initiatives that are promoting, inclusiveness, or Sunwiz, Solar Cutters, these companies that are doing great work. We really wanted to entrench ourselves with that, and they inspire us, so we wanted to get on board and be a part of it.
Magnificent. So, of course, good years always have ups and downs too. And so tell us about the challenges you faced this year, mate.
Every year seems to be full of challenges, mate, that's for sure. I think, one aspect every year that seems to be challenging is the amount of new regulations that come into place. And, you've always got to keep an eye on, not on their standards, but all the different DNSPs and the different things they're introducing, with flexible exports in South Australia. We were lucky we were able to meet that. And then, a few other states will introduce that later in the year. And then later in the year, I guess the last couple of months, service and support. So just being able to answer every call in a timely manner. And so for us, what that meant was that we really had to bolster our service team. So, in the last few weeks, we've hired 2 more service technicians that'll start in January next year. We've got another 2 people starting from our call center, and then also a couple more R&D technicians in headquarters that'll be dedicated just for the Australian market. And then on top of that, I think, service and support always needs to improve throughout the industry. And one thing that we wanted to do was be able to answer more calls at different times of the day to be able to cater to more markets. And so we'll also, from early next year, we'll operate till 9 p.m. just to be able to cater for WA time. And then within a few months, hopefully increase that and start from 7 a.m. as well.
Yep. That's a story I've heard many times before, and I know we battled a bit with support this year, and we talked about that previously on the podcast about the challenges as systems get ever more complicated and there's more stuff going on at every site and more interactions with regulators and VPP providers and everything else. So, yeah, it's a real keeping the service levels up and having the right people in those roles is a real challenge. So let's jump on to next year then, mate. First and foremost, do you think next year is going to be bigger or smaller, and why?
I think next year will remain strong. So I think different segments will do different things. Residentially, I think we're seeing the trend towards bigger systems, single phase. I think the average system now is nearly 10 kilowatts. So you're probably going to see a few less 5 kilowatt systems, a few more 8.5s and 10s. And then from a storage perspective, I think the storage market will incrementally increase regardless of the policies. But if we do have some incentives and policies, like I think we've just seen an announcement in Queensland recently about what might happen, and that'll absolutely fast track storage, which is fantastic. Yep. And then another one that we're keeping our eye on and we're starting to get heavily involved in is that commercial storage sector as well. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that happening next year.
It's been absolutely great seeing you guys just running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm sure you're all ready for a little bit of a break over Christmas. You've landed some great things this year. Congratulations on that. Thanks for coming on the show. And here's to next year.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, Nigel. Thanks very much for your time.
All right, now we're joined by Bobbi McKibbon from Solar Integrity, a solar retailer in Victoria. She's also involved with Solar Victoria and Wise as well. G'day, Bobbi.
Hi, Luke. How you going? Merry Christmas.
Where's the year gone?
I put a post up the other day saying I am sure there are another 3 to 4 weeks left before Christmas comes.
Now, the first question is, what was your company's biggest achievement in 2023?
We've actually had a couple of achievements. So one has been, like, probably our biggest one is we've completed our biggest VPP yet, our virtual power plant, where we installed quite a number of solar and battery systems, and even some customers upgraded to heat pump technology as well across the region. So that spanned from Wangaratta up to Corryong for us, which is about a 2-hour radius from where we're located. So that was pretty big for us. The other thing we saw was the ending of our bushfire funded projects. It's nice to have those projects behind us and knowing that we're helping create a more stable environment for our bushfire affected communities. And that was from the Black Summer bushfires locally.
So that was
we had.
Victorian state government, for those who aren't based there?
Yeah, some of that was government funded through Vic and federal. So there was different things coming out of the wash as far as that went after the fires. And a lot of it was around creating more resilience within communities. And obviously we focus on energy resilience for those sorts of communities. So they're looking at the aim of moving that into microgrids and into real microgrids in future if those events happen to reoccur, which at some point in time, unfortunately, we know they will.
Awesome. So a couple of huge achievements for the year.
Yeah.
What was your biggest lesson for the year?
I think my lessons are still coming from COVID. There's a lot of post-COVID lessons going on. And really, it's all about stress and reducing stress, and don't sweat over things that you can't control. There's a whole lot of things that happen within our lives and within our workplaces that we don't necessarily have any control over. So it's like, well, if you can't have the level of control over it, then you just have to accept it and let it be and deal with it.
I suppose that also works out in personal lives, not just professional.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now, my stress levels have lowered since I've reached that level of acceptance, and that what will be will be. As hideous as COVID was, and I never want to see that again, it's certainly measured in great personal growth as far as that goes.
All right. And the last question, what are your predictions for next year?
Yeah, 2024 for us as a business here, what we're really looking forward to is stabilisation of our workforce. As we've come out of COVID, we've all experienced shortages and that sort of stuff. That seems to be starting to clear up now, which is really nice. And getting back to investing in our people. So doing things around personal and professional development and creating that team and workplace culture and all that sort of stuff will be fantastic. I can't wait for that. And I think 2024 for us is going to be really big, and particularly in Victoria, because in November we have the 60 cents coming to an end in the feed-in tariff. So therefore we're going to see a lot more battery installs, people certainly changing over to heat pumps and efficient hot water systems, and upgrades of solar systems. They will be our number one, I think, as people start to prepare to come off that 60 cents.
The whole package, electrification.
It is, absolutely. And Victoria's got a massive focus on electrification. So Victoria and New South Wales in particular have a huge focus on electrification. So I think we will actually see that explode next year.
Yeah. So that's a really good perspective from a solar retailer. But I just want to also point out the service you give to the industry in lots of ways with Solar Victoria, with the wires. I think you've achieved amazing things with the team there. And also, before we came online, you spoke about a charity system that your team's doing today.
Yeah, so we've got a local girl who is disabled, and unfortunately, as she's gotten older and her disability has exacerbated, it has meant that the house that she was living in was no longer fit for purpose, and it was a risk to her and it was a risk to the building, and they were basically looking down the barrel of eviction. So her father, who is on a pension, has worked his bum off to build a house for her in a town that's about 20 minutes down the road that will then be suitable for her as her life progresses. So it's got to be around comfort. So we were approached by a local organisation that we've worked with previously to see if there was anything that we could do. And we are installing a 13 kilowatt system today for that family, which should see them almost operating at zero bills. So there's going to be a lot of export that they will generate to offset some of their nighttime usage. So it's going to mean a lot less stress for them, as they can't work because her mother is her full-time carer, her father is elderly, and he's also a carer for her. It will just help eliminate a lot of stress for them, not having an overhead like an electricity bill that would be probably around $1,000 a quarter. So
what a great Christmas gift.
Yeah, so we're off to Chiltern today to do the installation down there. So I'm meeting one of our suppliers there who helped us out with our inverters and stuff. So that's courtesy of Fronius and supply partners there. So I'm off to meet them on site and slip, slop and slapping because it's going to be 40 degrees and hideous. And so we'll be taking
That's a Christmas miracle for Victoria.
Oh, no, not in the northeast. The northeast is always hot. Yeah. So, it's not Melbourne, that's for sure. Yeah, so it'll be good to get down there and see them and finish the year off doing some more good for our community.
What a great example of giving back to the community. And also thanks for all the service you've given to the industry as well for the years. So thanks for coming on, Bobbi.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. I certainly love this industry and everything that we do, and together we can do amazing things. So have a wonderful, safe Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you next year.
Welcome and thanks for joining us, Flaherty from Green Energy Technologies. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome, mate. We're just talking about the cyclone that's running over you. Stay safe up there, and let's hope you get through the next couple of days.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Let's hear your views on the world as a large solar retailer. Con, I've got 3 questions for you. What is your company's biggest achievement in 2023?
Company-wide, biggest achievement for 2023. Yeah, look, there's been a few. I think the one that from my personally, we made a decision maybe 6 years ago to build our own sort of staff from within. Electrical trade is one of those. So I think this year we've seen 4 electrical apprentices sort of get through their time and work into teams, and 3 of those 4 are now leading like crews or running sort of areas within the business. So that's probably, I think that's something to see. I guess we birthed it 6 years ago, for want of a better word. We now have got 6 of them out and about, and this year we'll have 4 of them coming through the ranks, which has been really good, and 4 years better into the business. So that's probably our biggest success.
Magnificent. Magnificent. Yeah, that gives you a whole lot of internal strength, doesn't it?
Yep.
What about your biggest lesson? What was the toughest and biggest lesson you learnt this year?
I think it's probably a personal one and probably a business related one. I think when you've got 70 odd people and 3 locations now, like I think we just knowing my limits and where I'm at and the amount of people that you've got there, I guess I've got to be really mindful of where I'm at in my headspace and how I'm sort of dealing with things and people. Obviously, people generally looking at me or for me for some sort of confidence and comfort. So when I'm in a pretty tricky spot or, like a bit of a stressed out situation, I've got to be quite mindful. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I take away. I've got to be quite mindful now. Gone are the days where you can sort of just fly by the seat of the pants. I've got to be a bit more measured. Patience is not my greatest virtue. So that's probably something I've got to start really concentrating on. That's the big one for me and for the business, I think.
Good on you, mate. Yeah, that's very insightful. Yeah, you look like you're ready for a holiday. You going to get a break?
Well, I'm actually got the on call over Christmas, which is just helping out, I guess, the escalation side of things. But mate, we head off every year for about 5-6 weeks to the UK. That's where my wife's from. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, so we'll be getting ready for that, and we go skiing once a year as well. So, yeah, Christmas is sort of a good time for me because everyone's away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a bad time to be sort of floating around, just working on a few bits and pieces and just ticking over.
Good on you, mate. And last one, mate. What about 2024? For you, is it going to be bigger or smaller, and why?
Yeah, look, we're about 20% year on year, pretty consistently now. Next year, unless there's sort of any major movement, we would be expecting pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. 2024 for us will be our sort of key target is to just, I guess we really want to be communicating better to the team as a whole. We want to build our leadership group out and just get that buy-in with some smaller teams and just really running their own little departments. That's what our 2024 is all about, just about ownership and messaging and vision. Yeah, pretty broad, but that's where we want to get. We sort of know where we're headed. We just want to make sure everyone's on the same track. That's our 2024, and if we do that, we should see that same sort of growth, probably about 20%.
Magnificent, mate. Well, listen, have a wonderful break. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and insights, mate, and good luck over the next few days.
Thanks. Great to be on, Nigel. Have a great Christmas to everyone.
All right, and now we've got Steve Coleman from RET Australia. G'day, Steve.
G'day, Luke. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. So we've been going around to different segments of the industry and just getting feedback about the year. Really interested in your take on the trends and things that you've seen this year.
Well, I guess probably the biggest change is really at the government level, and that's with the Clean Energy Regulator taking over from the CC in terms of a lot of the high-end processing roles and all this kind of thing. So I'm sure there'll be a number of installers and probably some solar retailers nationally that'll be cheering that on. But certainly with the CER involved, there's been some significant changes there. And for my business as a rec agent and those others who do what I do, probably some of the emphasis on compliance has been really emphasised this year.
Do you see the market rolling over into next year unchanged?
There's a lot of scuttlebutt and so forth, and quite a bit of rumour going around the industry at the moment that the government's considering bringing in an STC, and I'll use the loose term rebate. It's not the right term, but an STC program for batteries. Now, if there's any truth to that, then that would certainly stimulate the industry significantly, both, not only just from STCs, but for all the solar retailers and installers who are going to sell and install those products. Because there's no doubt there's hundreds of thousands of PV systems out there that would potentially take up on that. But probably the other really big mover over the last 12 months has been the uptake of heat pump hot water systems on the back of the federal government's spruiking the electrification of everything at the last election. So that really seems to have made a significant impact on consumers and retailers. So, people who would say, what's a heat pump 3 years ago is now almost becoming common language.
So where does this rumour come from then?
Look, it just seems to be swirling around from initially from where I've heard at a wholesaler level. That was thrown out to me some weeks ago. I've been trying to, see whether there's any merit in that, but government are very tight-lipped about these things and won't comment at all. So, it may not be. I think there'd be certainly a lot of people who would see that being a very important next phase in pushing towards 2030. But I'm led to believe that I think Smart Energy Council have a view that they believe these incentives should be brought in. They may or may not be doing some advocacy there. I'd let them comment on that. But there seems to be some, more than just general chitter-chatter that may be on the cards.
Now, we're not going to go into details on this one, but there's been a bit of disruption of late, a fair bit of banter online. People can check it out on the Cutters page about some retailers that have had trouble trading their certificates. What advice would you be giving to the market in light of that?
Look, I think the key thing is really you've just got to know your rec agent. Probably the one fortunate thing about the rec industry is that there are a relatively small number of STC creators around the country who are not tied or aligned to either manufacturing and so forth. So depending on who you want to trade with as a retailer, there's been some challenges that definitely over the last couple of months with some retailers not getting paid and installers not being paid. The key is, definitely know your STC agent, know whether their capabilities are there, their longevity and their payment history. So, and I think a lot of this comes down to trust and really making sure that the rec agent's got really good systems. Those agents that have been doing this for as long as I have, I started in 2004, and there's 4 other rec agents who started around the same time as myself and one that started before me. But all of those companies have been through everything that you can just about experience in this game. Still here, but know your agent, and if you're not getting paid, then you should immediately be looking to move elsewhere and consider someone else, because there should be no reason not to be paid.
That's some good advice there, mate. Well, I hope you get some downtime over the break and have a great Christmas.
Thanks, Luke. Really appreciate your time, mate, and look forward to having a chat again soon.
Welcome and thanks for joining us, Warwick Johnston from Sunwiz.
Great to be here, Nigel, and the whole DAS team.
Good on you, mate. All right, let's dive into it. Let's hear your views on the solar world as a market analyst. Question number one, what was your company's biggest achievement in 2023?
For us, it was a big turnaround in the business. We had been endeavouring to provide services to solar retailers, which, frankly, looking back, we didn't quite have the great product market fit with what we were offering. Despite there being a lot of enthusiasm for what we were doing, it just wasn't cutting through. And so we doubled down on where our strength is, which is, of course, market analytics. And just really proud to see the biggest, that resulted in a massive turnaround in both our finances. That's Sunny in the background.
Morning, Sunny.
Right, so he's also got Gracie there, his new younger sister. Look, the result of that is we've just been able to help our clients a lot more because we've got access to a lot more data, a great deal of services that tell what's going on and why and what they can do about it, all geared at improving their market share, revenues, etc. So I'm really thrilled to see the net result of that is more subscribers subscribing to more stuff and ultimately a better informed solar industry.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. I love a bit of data, as you know. That's a great outcome. And so looking at it the other way, what was the biggest lesson you learned last year? Could be good, could be bad.
The lesson was, geez, when you are ambitious, it's pretty easy to bite off more than you can chew in some sense. It's like one of my strengths is being able to punch out a whole lot of new concepts in a short period of time. But my weaknesses is then going through and embedding those processes and making that then be able to be generated smoothly. And so after going in, with a vision of all the things we could be doing for our subscribers and data partners and setting that vision and actually executing it initially, it's then like, oh, now we've just created a rod for our back. How are we going to be able to deliver this on and on again? Thankfully, we embarked on a big process of automating, and that has paid dividends, also including how we do things and what we can do. But the other aspect of it is never resting in relentless client engagement. Pretty easy for me when I've got that focus to really just look at the data, the analytics, wow, this is what we can see and this is what we can show. And I kept getting reminded, well, it's actually about the people. We need to be engaging with our clients well and showing them this new stuff and how they can use it and integrate into their business processes. So those big lessons are when you are ambitious, then you've got to have the follow-up behind you, both from a process perspective, but also from a people and engagement.
Yep. Gotcha. Common story right across every business, mate. Don't fear.
There's so much to do, right? And so many good things that you should, and then you go, oh, geez, how can I do it all?
That's right. Okay. And looking ahead, what about 2024? Will it be bigger or smaller, and why?
I predict that 2024 will be a year of growth in the solar industry. I expect it's also going to be growth in energy storage. That growth is going to happen across residential and commercial. Yeah, it's going to be a year of continued growth. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. What we're seeing in our data is that lead volumes are at pretty substantial levels and continuing to be so. But conversion rates of leads into sales are actually continuing to diminish, and it's also taking longer to convert leads into sales. So, look, solar businesses out there, there's plenty of interest in solar, but converting into paying customers in a timely manner, that's a challenge. So, our predictions, some of that growth will be also growth in air source heat pumps. Some of that will take some of the heat out of the PV market, but balancing that is going to be the number of EVs on the road. And I expect that we're going to see that the EV market drives PV uptake, particularly plenty of repowering of existing PV systems as well as plenty of new ones. So that's my predictions for the market. Also, from a business level, last year we did a award ceremony at Smart Energy Conference and had a packed room full of award winners and people such as yourself cheering on all those retailers that had done extraordinary efforts in the year and been recognised, rewarded with recognition. We've more than doubled the size of the award ceremony space, but I suspect that it's going to be another awesome event. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Nice one. That's a great snapshot from the perspective of a market analyst. Thanks very much. Have a wonderful Christmas and a bit of a break, I hope.
Yeah, that's something planned.
Thanks, mate.
See you. Bye.
All right, up next we've got Paul Caulfield from Elecforce. Elecforce are a large commercial installer based in Victoria. G'day, Paul.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Yeah, good. So thanks for coming on. We just wanted to get the perspective of, a solar installer about how the year's been and what you might see ahead. I'm just going to ask you questions, and do you reckon you can handle that, Paul?
I'm sure I can cope, mate. Go for it.
Okay, mate. First one, what was your company's biggest achievement in 2023?
I would say the biggest achievement off the top of my head would be not just the jobs we've done, but also the team. I reckon I look at the team at the end of December 2023, and I think it's definitely stronger than what we were. And I thought I had a strong team at the end of 2022. And we've had a few changes here and there, but definitely the guys I brought into the company have made the company better. I'm looking forward to, like every year, growing the business and making it better than what we were last year. And that's probably the aim of every company, I suppose.
Yeah, and I suppose retaining that talent once you get it in there is a challenge.
Yeah, that's a big thing now is team culture. I know you see it everywhere. Everyone's trying to make the culture of their team better and the company. Anything the guys can come up with that makes their job better or easier to do, I'm always all for it. Like I'll buy tools or anything that they push forward and it's a reasonable suggestion, I'll actually add it into the company's way of doing things or adding a better tool to make things better.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges or lessons you've learned this year?
The standard one, which is you think you can plan for everything, but there's always something that will come up that you just don't plan for. So being more flexible with and thinking on your feet if something goes wrong. Like even just this Saturday, we had a shutdown plan that was planned for a month in advance with a big commercial customer. We rocked up 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. All the mains have been cut off. Guys are ringing me at 6:10 in the morning. And that's never a good thing when you're doing a shutdown and have a phone call 10 minutes into the shutdown. You're like, this can't be a good call.
Bugger.
Yeah, bugger. So, yeah, the blokes, anyone out there with that copper, if they want to drop it off to the factory, I'd much appreciate it.
And tell me, man, have you noticed much of a difference in terms of compliance?
100%. Like we've started rolling out, been helping out one of the EPCs with some school rollouts, and every job's getting audited now, like the SolarVic stuff with the domestic guys, TechSafe and a few other audit companies, I guess, who are going around there and doing it. It's making you tick every box, basically, and just make sure you guys are doing those little things that might have snuck through here and there, like, just clip the way they're clipping the panel. It might be hanging a little bit lower. That we're trying to make it just the little things. Everything's trying to step up that notch better than what we were a year or two earlier. My motto has always been, don't spend money on marketing, just do quality work and your PMs and that will give you more work. You know what I mean? That's how I've always run my business.
Now, what about next year, 2024? Do you have any predictions or how do you think it's going to roll?
Because we do have the two divisions, we are trying to ramp up a little bit more electrical because of the weather to combat just those crappy days. Just building stronger partnerships with the guys that we are dealing with now and the EPCs and the builders and whoever else we're dealing with, just to get those partnerships going. They want to use Elecforce and come back for more because we try to give them a good product and them happy at the end of the day that they want to use us again and again.
That's good, man. And what are you doing over the break? Are you going to have some downtime or are you going to be pushing through?
No, we definitely have some downtime. I think we're even shutting off early. I've got the guys having a big breakup on Thursday rather than the Friday. I think it's the 20th, this year. So we're going to, rather than wait till the Friday, we're just going to have a big, I usually just pay for all the boys to have a day out and we sort of go do something on that last day. So there's like 25, 30 of us go out and do stuff. And yeah, the boss lets them let their hair down. I don't have any hair these days, but I get out there with the younger guys. And it's funny when you talk to guys, half the team's half my age or younger. So it's a bit
Does it make you feel old?
It's a bit of a shock when you look at how many guys in your team are born in the 2000s now. It's like ridiculous.
Well, Paul from Elecforce, thanks for coming on, mate. Just a short one today, but look forward to catching up in the new year. Merry Christmas.
Definitely. Merry Christmas to you.
That was a great series of interviews that you've done there, Luke. Thanks very much, mate, for going out of your way when I'm so busy actually doing work.
Oh, I'll tell you what, man. It's actually really hard to tee them all up because everyone's so busy.
It has been a definite problem of mine this week in particular, cancellations and having to find people at short notice because they're simply too busy. And when they're too busy installing my product, I say, thank you very much. We'll make a date another time. It's great. So speaking of which, there was an article in One Step Off the Grid about the rise of the heat pump. And whilst we haven't talked about it much on the show, the STC numbers for heat pumps this year have been, as you can imagine, awesome. And it's not because of anything particular has changed in policy. It's because the solar industry has really taken it up and run with it as well as the plumbers. So now we've got a lot more people joining the army of renewable energy professionals, which is great.
And as we bring it to a close for the year, first of all, I'd love to thank all of the guests that we've had this year. I mean, we've just been spoiled with the best people in the industry, some really interesting stories, motivational stories and all sorts of things. So just a huge thanks to all the guests and to you two guys as well. I mean, we do this as a hobby. We do it as a service to the industry, but we're also busy. And thanks to you guys for cutting out that time every fortnight so we could do this.
No problem for me, Luke. You know, what do they reckon? I can talk 10 feet underwater with a mouthful of rocks.
Well, if it's yeah, and I'll throw it right back at you. It's an absolute ball doing this every couple of weeks with you guys. And if it's any consolation, Karl, speaking to a Victorian dealer yesterday, he said, "Yeah, I listen to the podcast all the time, but you're wrong, Nigel. You talk more than Karl, even." So I don't know what that means. I can do underwater, Karl, but apparently it's more.
At the end of the day, it's great to have this platform, and of course, it wouldn't be here without you, Luke. So thanking you for thanking us and thanking you for doing all the hard work in the background while we just make us look good.
I think I can give thanks to Nigel there as well, Karl, because he's also been pulling some weight in the background. And it was really cool when you came on board, Nigel. I think it's really set the dynamic for the show. And that was just out of a random call out of the blue from you, Nigel.
Yep. And
it worked out really well. So this year we've recorded from all over the country. One international episode when I was in Bali.
Yeah.
But it seems, we travel all over the place, guys, but we still find time to get this done and to bring in the best guests. Nigel, I remember the one where you almost had a big bushfire in the background when you were having your burn off. Karl, I think you've recorded more in your car than anything else.
I've got it sorted. I even bring the laptop and the microphone these days because whilst I did it in the car last week, the audio wasn't as good. I apologise.
Yeah, it's a whole year. We've been rolling now with the trio, and I must say the feedback's been really, really good from lots of listeners. We've done a live one as well. And of course, I want to encourage everyone, all the listeners out there, to give us suggestions, give us ideas for who you think should be on, or what the topic should be, or what the conversation should be. And we'd be glad to listen to them.
All right. So once again, thanks to all of the guests, to you guys, but also to the listeners. And as Nigel said, we get lots of good feedback. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and sharing it around and being part of the journey. Wishing you all a great Christmas and hope you get some downtime during your break.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Get some time down to relax and recharge. Remember, there's only 1.3 billion more panels to go.
We'll be back next year. Thanks,
everyone.